At the start of 2026, one of the biggest battery makers on the planet looked at what Tesla just pulled off and quietly walked away. Panasonic, a company that has been building world-class battery cells for decades, evaluated the exact same manufacturing trick and decided it was too brutal to chase. Tesla did it anyway. And right now, Tesla is the only car maker on Earth running this process at full scale on both sides of the cell. This is the story of how a $200 million bet on a nearly bankrupt company turned into a wall the rest of the battery industry still can't climb over. Before we get into how they did it, hit subscribe, because understanding this one manufacturing trick is the key to understanding almost everything Tesla is trying to build next. So here's the head-to-head as it stands today. On one side, Panasonic, decades of battery expertise, one of the most respected names in the business, looked at this process and pulled back. On the other side, Tesla, a company that isn't even primarily a battery maker, pushed through and got it working in cars you can buy right now. That gap is not theoretical anymore. Tesla confirmed it directly in its own formal investor update at the end of January 2026, and the executive running the program stated it flatly. Both electrodes, anode and cathode, are now built dry at production scale, and Model Y cars are already rolling off the line with these cells inside them. So if you're sitting inside a rival battery program right now, and you know your team is 3 to 5 years behind on this exact process, what do you actually do? Do you throw money at a parallel program that might fail the same way Tesla's almost did? Do you try to license a process Tesla isn't selling? Or do you just wait and hope the gap closes on its own? Drop your answer in the comments, because the decisions being made in boardrooms right now will decide whether this gap holds or gets filled. Here's why that gap is so hard to close. This wasn't a quick win for Tesla. It took almost 8 years, and for most of that time it looked like it might just be a promise Tesla couldn't keep. They laid out the dream publicly at their Battery Day event back in September of 2020, unveiling the now famous 4680 cell, 46 millimeters across, 80 tall, and promising this dry process would cut battery cost per unit of energy by more than half. The slides looked incredible. Then reality showed up. Tesla got the dry process working on one electrode, the anode, relatively early. The other one, the cathode, fought them at every single step. The cathode is where most of a battery's cost and performance actually lives, and the material is chemically reactive and mechanically fragile. Early attempts at dry coating it produced films that cracked, developed tiny holes, and peeled straight off the foil, something engineers call delamination, especially under the heavy compression and high-speed winding of a real production line. In this kind of manufacturing, yield is everything, the percentage of cells that come out good instead of scrap. At 70% yield, that dry cathode was basically a science experiment quietly bleeding money. Inside the industry, cracking the dry cathode became known as the holy grail of the entire 4680 program, the one piece everyone suspected might be genuinely uncrackable at scale. Most companies kill a program like that by year 3. A few might stretch it to year 5. Tesla kept redesigning the line, scrapping batches, and losing engineers to frustration past year 7, and kept going anyway. To understand why that was so hard, you need to understand exactly what they were trying to replace. For half a century, every battery maker on the planet built electrodes the same way, the wet method. You take the fine powder that stores the energy, mix in a binder and a solvent until it becomes a thick slurry, coat that onto a thin metal foil, then bake it dry in an oven the length of a football pitch, running at extreme heat around the clock. Every part of that is expensive. The solvent most commonly used is a chemical called NMP. It's toxic, tightly regulated, and because you can't just vent it into the air, you need an entire separate system just to capture and recover it after baking. The oven itself devours power non-stop, and the whole line is enormous, which means the factory is enormous, which means the capital cost is enormous before you've even made one good cell. So the wet process taxes you 3 separate ways at once. a toxic solvent you have to manage, gigantic ovens draining energy, and a sprawling factory footprint that costs a fortune before production even starts.
Now here's where the story actually begins, because Tesla didn't invent the fix from scratch. They bought it. Back in 2019, Tesla quietly acquired a struggling company out of San Diego called Maxwell Technologies. Maxwell was known for something called ultra-capacitors, fast-charging energy storage devices that aren't batteries at all, a respectable little business, but not a world-changing one. Buried inside that struggling company, almost as a side project, was the thing Tesla actually wanted, a way to build battery electrodes with no liquid at all, a fully dry process Maxwell had been developing for years, while most of the industry treated it as an interesting curiosity that would never scale. The deal is usually remembered as roughly $200 million. The real figure was closer to $235 million, a rounding error for a company Tesla's size. And here's the tell about what they actually wanted. A couple years later, Tesla sold off the ultracapacitor business, the thing Maxwell was actually famous for, and kept only the dry electrode patents and the engineers who understood them. They didn't buy a company, they bought one idea and the people who knew how to make it real. If you're seeing the size of this gap now, that Tesla out-executed one of the best battery makers on the planet using an idea it picked up for less than the price of a rounding error, hit like and drop a comment on which side of this race you'd bet on long-term, because this fight is only getting more interesting from here. So why does any of this actually matter beyond one company's factory floor? Because a structurally cheaper cell isn't a feature of one car, it's the foundation under nearly everything Tesla is trying to build that it currently can't afford to. The genuinely cheap mass-market car, the semi-truck, the cybercab, the grid-scale megapack business. Lower the floor on cell cost and every one of those products becomes more possible at once. It also buys Tesla something else: control. They're now pushing to make their own cathode material in Texas and stand up new lower-cost chemistry lines in Nevada, pulling more of the supply chain in-house so fewer suppliers and fewer countries sit between Tesla and a finished battery. In a world full of tariffs and trade friction, owning the process end-to-end is its own kind of moat. But here's the detail that shows how fragile this advantage really is. All of that expertise lives inside a very small number of people. The manager who ran Tesla's in-house dry electrode manufacturing recently left the company for a new venture. One departure doesn't sink a program already in production, but it tells you something true about manufacturing advantages in general. They aren't built from patents sitting on a shelf. They're built from people who spent 8 years learning exactly what doesn't work. So let's be honest about where this actually leaves the race, because it would be easy to walk away thinking Tesla has won this forever, and that's not the accurate read. What's confirmed, Tesla is the first automaker running a fully dry process on both electrodes at real production scale, documented in their own filings, confirmed by the executive in charge, and sitting in cars you can buy today. The cost and energy advantages are real, roughly half the electrode cost, over 40% less factory energy. What's still an open question is whether this is a durable, multi-year lead that reshapes who can actually build the cheapest car, or just a 2 to 3 year head start that the rest of the industry quietly closes, the way it has closed every other gap Tesla has opened before. The engineers who leave will carry what they know with them, and what one company learns to do, others usually learn to do eventually too. The truth is probably somewhere in between, and which way it tips depends less on the trick itself and more on how willing Tesla's rivals actually are to fail in public for years the way Tesla just did. Because here's the real lesson underneath all of this, and it's bigger than batteries. Anyone could read the same patents Tesla bought. They're public. In principle, this was never a secret, and yet for years, nobody else could do it.
The Moat was never the product, and it was barely even the idea. The real Moat was 8 years of failing at the cathode until someone finally understood why it kept cracking. And that kind of knowledge doesn't live in a patent. It lives in scrapped batches and redesigned lines, and the specific hard-won instinct of a few hundred people who were there for every single failure. You can buy the patent, you cannot buy the 8 years. So here's what I'm actually curious about. Is a manufacturing process like this a real durable moat, or is it just a head start that the rest of the industry always eventually erases, meaning this whole advantage has an expiration date Tesla can't fully control? Let me know what you think down in the comments. I read every one. And make sure you're subscribed, because next time we're crossing the battlefield to the exact opposite kind of story. A moat built not on some brand new process almost nobody can copy, but on a deceptively simple mechanical trick that let one company quietly own an entire category for 2 decades. Thanks for watching.